Hi, I'm Rick Sinclair. I am the guy behind this Bopper Defense program that you've been hearing about. I'm making this somewhat impromptu video because I want to speak directly to school board members and chief administrators, even security administrators, that because there's been some misconceptions about what we are expecting and what we're doing. Most have been about either child safety, the teacher's role in what we're doing, or some have questioned the integrity of the device itself. And I'd like to address those three things. I'm going to start with the integrity of the program. You don't know who we are or who I am, but for the last 40 years I've been doing engineering consulting work in heavy industry, all over the country and even all over the world. And I've had the opportunity to work with many of the carbon-based particulate that we use in the darts in the Bopper system. So I understood what they would do and what they were all about. There's nothing toxic about them, but they are nasty. And that's really what we wanted to do. And I've used a lot of them. The darts that we're using, the tubes, they appear to be just common off-the-shelf cardboard tubes. They're not. These darts weigh 12 ounces, which is 3/4 of a pound, and they come out of the launcher at 100 feet per second. A typical cardboard tube that we find is either going to be so strong that it will carry that weight and that pressure, but then it wouldn't break open on impact like we needed it to. We found weaker tubes that would break open properly, but the trouble is they would break open as soon as they left the gun. So we had to go to several different manufacturers, and we finally found one in Canada that would completely create a new tube for us, as we spoke, with a double helix configuration that would hold itself together in flight and come open just the way we wanted it to on impact. These things have taken up to almost 2 years to put this whole program together this way. As far as the launchers themselves, I did the conceptual work on them, but the main engineering, the final engineering and design and manufacturing, it's being carried out by a company called Bopper Defense. They have been a well-known government contractor for many, many years. They build launchers, mostly air. Everything they do is air compressed launchers that for the Wildlife and Fisheries Department. They also build grenade launchers for several of the military branches. And our launchers are going to be made to those exact standards that they make for military launchers. So they'll be effective the day they arrive at school, and with very little maintenance, they will be effective 10 years from now. So it's considered a one-time purchase. The darts themselves, we're putting a 2-year shelf life on them. Not because we expect them to fall apart in 2 years, but we want to make sure they're checked and everything is fine every couple of years. And they are minimal cost to replace. The second thing that we want to address is the children's safety. People look at these things and they go, oh my goodness, what happens if one child gets a hold of it and shoots another? Or are they going to be harmed if they're used? If a shooter does get into a room and a teacher has to use one, what are the effects on the children? There's, again, nothing toxic in these particulates that we're using. They're very heavy and dense, so that as long as a child is more than 4 feet from the area of impact, he won't even get any of the quote, dirt on him. There's a light material that will float in the air a little bit, but I think we use less than half a cup of that in each dart. So it dissipates fairly quickly and just floats away, and there's nothing in it to hurt anybody anyway. As far as the children getting a hold of it, we are offering a couple of locking devices. We're even looking at a small cabinet to put them away, but we had to make sure that a teacher could get their hands on it quickly in case that they really needed to. Which brings us up to the last thing. is the teacher's role in all of this. That's been the biggest misconception. I think people have thought that we were expecting a shooter would get into a building and the teachers were to grab these things and form a militia in the hallway and go chase down the shooter. That's the farthest thing from the truth. We don't even want to disrupt the protocols that you're using now. If you can run, if the teacher can run with the kids and get out of harm's way, they should run. If they go into a hide mode where they lock the doors, cut the lights off, pull the curtains down, that's exactly what they should do. The difference is, once they're hiding, if a shooter breaks into the room, the teacher's told to fight. Well, right now, you've given her nothing to fight with. And if and when these shooters get into a classroom, 2 to 3 times a week right now, the teacher becomes target practice, and so do the children. At least with the Bopper, they have something they can fight back with. And it should be effective. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, our teachers have never had any training and they've never picked up a gun. They're not military people. Well, of course not. They're teachers. We spent a great deal of time interviewing teachers. We interviewed principals. We interviewed law enforcement people, special school safety law enforcement people on the state and local levels. We eventually had to go to the ATF at the federal level to make sure that these were not going to be rated as a lethal weapon and take no special license. And then we let some teachers actually shoot one. It doesn't take any training. We will provide training. We've got a training manual we're providing. We're actually asking each school to appoint a program director, and he will hand out the Boppers, make sure they're in working order, whatnot. He'll be conducting the training. We're going to be teaching the teachers how to react, where to stand, even which way the door opens, and just little technique things to make them feel better about using them. And we'll be providing some training darts so they can go out on the athletic fields and shoot at a target and see that there's no kick or that it's easy to use. The darts are actually made so that they're weighted in the back a little bit, so that when they leave the launcher, they'll go on an angle, and that increases the footprint of impact so that there's even less chance of them missing. I mean, but they're only shooting from 12 to 14 feet away. They're not going to miss. And there's two barrels, so they have 2 darts. We've put a lot of thought into this, and we've relied on the expertise of a lot of people. We've talked to many of the security people who are head of security, not just for single schools, but for entire school districts. And we've taken in a lot of advice from them, even major universities. We've talked to 2 chief of police at 2 major universities, and they're helping us with the training manuals and stuff. But we're ready. I mean, this thing is as good as it's going to get, and we want to get them into those classrooms as fast as we can. There's another video on our YouTube channel here, maybe on our website, where we actually interviewed the teachers. You know, talk to them. If you think they don't want the responsibility of these things, believe me, every single one of them, every time they do one of these training exercises where they put the kids down, it goes through their mind of, what am I going to do if a shooter comes into my room? And they're scared to death. When they think that they might have a way to fight back, it has created a lot of anxiety relief, if for no other reason. So the psychological advantage, if they're never used, the teachers are going to feel more comfortable for them even being in the classroom. The kids are going to feel more comfortable because they're thinking now, they integrate this into their training program, and they see that the teacher has a way to defend them, and the kids are going to feel better. They'll see during the drills that the teacher now has a device to protect them, and their confidence level goes way up. And the final thing I did want to mention real quick, we've been asked a lot about the cost. These are military grade devices, and they're not cheap. But they're not that expensive either. In fact, we've visited with a lot of parents, and the parents indicated that they would be glad to chip in the cost to put one into a classroom. We're only talking maybe $80 to $90 per student in an average classroom, and that's a one-time fee. So if you need help organizing something, or having your booster club or PTA that wants to raise the money for them, have them contact me. We can send them literature and letters to mail out to the parents, etc., or whatever it takes. But we don't want to wait years to get these into the classrooms. We want to be aggressive about it. It's an aggressive device, when we want to be aggressive about getting them into the schools. And hopefully we can get these situations under control. And more so, we can maybe make schools a less friendly target, so shooters can go somewhere else and not bother the kids. I appreciate you listening to me ramble for the last few minutes, and I hope I hear from each and every one of you sooner rather than later. My contact information is, again, there on the video and on the website, etc. This is Rick Sinclair, and I thank you very much.